Sup nerds, I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
This is the closest game I've ever played to be like an RPG board game.
Are you asking me or?
I'm telling you. I'm looking to you for confirmation to be like, yes, that's right, or no, you're an idiot. So 2 things before we get started. First off, this video is brought to you by Game Toppers. They are our channel sponsor. We absolutely love playing with them. When I don't have my Game Topper, it makes me sad. The second thing is that we are going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, depending on what you consider to be a spoiler. But we're not going to give anything about the story and the actual game that unfolds until a certain point in the video, and we're going to give you a warning before that happens. So if you are super averse to any spoilers at all, you can totally watch this video and we will let you know when the spoilers happen.
So overall, this is a story game.
Yes.
Like, it is 99% just telling a story. Like, the story is that you crash land, like your ship is going down, you all get on escape pods, and you all crash land on the same planet, but on different parts of the same planet, and you're trying to, sort of get together. There's different goals one that you're kind of working on together, but you could have your own personal goals, but like, it's just telling a story. You're going to look at a card, and you're going to make a thematic choice, and then another player is going to read to you the results of that and tell you where you're going to go and what you're going to do and what you're going to gain.
So in this setup, there's a few points where you're going to roll the dice to kind of determine your starting location, what your entire objective is for that game. And then from there, it's all, hey, you see this thing happens. How do you want to respond to it? And there's going to be like 6 different options that you pick from. And they all kind of go towards like move, look, engage, help, take, overpower. And they're on the box so you can see what they are. But there's those actions to take, and they're all thematic based on what's going on. And you will take you'll choose one of those things, and then it will say, okay, well, based on the card number you have, take the color book to match that action. So there's all the books over there, and read this entry in that book. So then someone else at the table will get that book. They'll go to that option. They'll read you your story, and then you'll have your check to see if you were successful or not to accomplish that.
Well, like, I mean, you always are successful, quote unquote. Like, you're always going to progress to whatever the next thing is. But the check just has to do with these dice that you roll can affect other things that we'll talk about a little bit later. But also, so it's cooperative, but you can't get too specific about what you're seeing versus what your opponent's seeing. Like, you can tell them based on the art on your card what you see, but you can't really tell them anything else, right?
I think thematically it's supposed to be, Rodney Smith at least said you have an earpiece in, so like you can talk to people, but you can't show them what your card is. So there's actually the starting card you have, which isn't really a spoiler because this is just the very first thing you see. It doesn't really have to do with the gameplay.
Yeah, they all look the same, basically.
Yeah. The back of it does not have artwork because the rest of the cards in the game, or at least these big cards, are all double-sided. And so you have this to block your opponents from seeing where you are in the game.
And also, speaking of cards, look at how many cards there are.
Would you just look at it?
Would y'all look at this? You know what I mean?
So the numbers go on here up to 1,708.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of cards. You will spend... So they recommend that you have one person be in charge of the box of cards. And if you are that person, you will spend a lot of time going to your Rolodex and being like, oh, you need card 1,400, 1,700, and point 2.
They even give you like spacers so you can put where somebody previously was. Like for each player has a little card of theirs. So you'd be like, oh, you were at this location. Cool. Give me that card. I'll put it here. Let me find the new location you're going to and put your card here so that I can, get back to it. You have your time, health, and morale. So if any of these tracks for anybody gets down to 0, the game might end. And I will in a minute. I'm going to get to spoilers, but because this is going to lead into a spoiler thing. But prior to that, for those of you who are going to click away, I did enjoy it. Wes liked it a lot more than me, but I did enjoy it.
I absolutely loved this game. Like the narrative aspect to it. It was one where like it was really cool we were playing it, but like so we played it at Dice Tower Con, and it was the last thing we did that night. And I found. I'm going to be kind of silly here for a minute, but I found myself like in bed, just like thinking about the story, thinking of how it progressed, thinking about the choices that I made that led to the game ending and being like, yeah, I shouldn't have made that choice. And I really wanted to see how that story would develop and progress. So it's a game that I kept thinking about I absolutely love it. I'm really looking forward to playing it again because there's so much in here that even if we spoiled every single thing that happened, we recorded the whole gameplay of it. If we play that whole thing with audio, it might not spoil almost anything other than some mechanic things that come up because the game can be so different game to game because there is just so many story elements to it.
That is part of why I liked it but didn't love it. Not necessarily my cup of tea. Like, I actually do like RPGs. I don't play RPGs a lot for the reason why I like them is the fact that you get to upgrade and I mean, you do gain more stuff in here, but it feels...
They're campaigns.
Yeah, they're campaigns. Getting back into it and, leveling up your character and getting new weapons. And, I like the idea of telling a story amongst other players, which is another thing is the fact that it's, I'm doing my own thing and you're doing your own thing. And we're kind of working together, kind of not.
Yeah.
That's the only, hesitation. Like, for me, I would prefer to play just a full-on RPG. Let's play Arkham Horror or Marvel Multiverse or D&D or whatever. But you know what? Wes's kids are definitely going to have a blast with this one.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that it was cooperative. And part of me wants to be like, well, it's really like everyone's playing their own solo game.
Yeah.
But there are decisions you make in the game can affect your whole table. There are things that can happen that will change how different things resolve for everyone at the table. But there's also a lot of cards you can get that when you're having these checks and the bad things can happen, you can kind of absorb some of that bad stuff in people. There's tokens that you have to spend for certain things that everyone at the table can share those tokens at some points. So it's not totally solo, but you really are off having your own adventures. For the most part, I think, in our playthroughs, we never met up. I know it's possible for two people to be at the same location, and there's things that happen at that point. But yeah, I liked it. There will be a purchase link down there, which you can click on. And if you don't want spoilers, now is the time to subscribe to our channel and turn it off.
Because what I'm going to say here is that when one of us died in what I'm not going to say where we were, what
it was me though.
it was Wes, but he died. And it's like read this passage and, maybe you could succeed. And it was like a roll thing. It was like, hey, roll these dice. And if the result is like this, you can keep going. Or you can just keep going if you want to. Yeah. And it was a little bit too loose for me where I was like, because are a lot of other rule things that tend to come up as like a do the most thematic thing. Yeah. Do the thing that makes most sense thematically. And, it reminds me of a D&D game. They had like the Temple of Elemental Evil or whatever. They were like a D&D board game that was like a dungeon crawl, kind of like a Descent or whatever, but it was a co-op version, much more like a little bit watered down. But I mean, it was like whenever you go to place monsters, they tells you to place them in these areas. And if you don't have enough room, just put them, wherever. And it was like just too loose, and that's one of the complaints I have. So I'm like,
So realistically, I feel like that's there for the people that are going to be really sad that it ends. Because it does take a minute to kind of get into the actual story. You have your first couple turns is really just getting the game. It's setting up the game. Like, setup is super quick. I think it's like, less than 5 minutes to set the game up. But part of that is because your first couple turns really are setting up how the game starts for you. And if you are like, oh man, I really want to see how this goes. Even if the rules didn't say that, you could totally just say, let's pretend like I didn't make that choice. Like, instead of rolling back the game a turn, like going back to your last save checkpoint, it's like, look, if you want to keep going, you can keep going. Like, you don't have to stop.
We understand that you maybe
know that you lost because you suck and you murdered that person and shouldn't have. Yeah. Or you tried to murder that person and ended up dying in the process of it. But you can keep going if you really want to.
But also, so that's like a more spoilerish negative that I have, but a more spoilerish positive that I have is that there's so much more going on in this box.
Oh my gosh.
There's mini games and puzzles and riddles and cool ass shit.
It literally like decode this message, and it's literally like, it's not a key. It's, well, here's these symbols, and you have to, here's these symbols you have to figure out. And you have to go, and like, I got it, and I was just like, I have no idea. There's no way I'm going to get through this.
But I was sitting there looking, I'm looking at in the Book of Secrets, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know how he's ever going to get this. And like, he got to a point where he was so close where I was like, okay, you're definitely on the right track here. You're not on the right track here. But it's the fact that that's where you really see the passion project aspect of this come through.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I just want to put as much stuff in here as possible, all the different cool things. We got to open up the spoiler pack on our first game, which is awesome.
It reminded me, I grew up playing like Morrowind, that then became Skyrim, because I didn't play Oblivion because it was dumb. But in that, like, so much of this reminded me of that, of just super open world. When you move around, there's like the little like compass on your board, and you get to pick what direction you want to go, and that tells you what number card to go to. So you go wherever you want, do whatever you want. You're going to get mini side quests that just like, well, I know this is our main objective, but I had this other quest that I talked to this person that I could totally ignore and not worry about, but I kind of want to go figure out what this is all about. But there's a mini game that kind of transverses. It's throughout the game. There's a mini game. Transcends. A lot of different people you'll encounter play this game, and the spoiler pack contains items that you will use in that game as you go on. So kind of as you continue playing the game, you'll collect more items to have more options and like develop the game and be a little more strategic when you play it. Mm-hmm. But again, it's just one more like whole game that you play within the game that you'll play in this game. You will meet people in the game that want to play a game with you. And then you'll take a break from this game to play that game with the people that you meet in the game. I don't know. I just got super excited about that because it's not something I've really seen before.
Game within a game?
Now, I know I've heard some people compare this like Seventh Continent.
Never played.
Which I haven't played before. So maybe this is totally like that. I don't know.
But I do know that that's one of his inspirations for this. In the back of the... I'm holding it right here.
Which book?
There's a gajillion books. I'm also incredibly grateful for the many amazing games that inspired Vantage in some way. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, The Witcher 3, Baldur's Gate 3, Eastshade, Stardew Valley, Subnautica, Red Dead Redemption, Ghosts of Tsushima, Elden Ring, Time Stories, Seventh Continent and Citadel, Sleeping Gods, Tainted Grail, Earthborn Rangers, Near and Far. Like, you can definitely see where, I mean, he's literally saying where he got his inspiration from. But yeah, it's like he's played a lot of those games. It's like, and I want to do that thing to the greatest extent that I feel I possibly can. And he does say it's a passion project of him since 2017 or 2018 or something like that.
It's been a while. And it does feel like a passion project because this is so different than any other Stonemaier game I've played. Yeah. Like it does not, if you love Stonemaier games, this is going to be very different from all of those.
Don't go, oh, hey, I have everything for Scythe. What's this new game?
Yeah.
So many things in this game are heavily, heavily, heavily thematic. Yeah. And you only do what makes sense thematically. Even if you feel like mechanically, you know what? There's very little mechanics in the game. This is not... The mechanics are just there so that you can continue to do the thematic thing. Have you ever seen pitch meetings where they say, why would a character do that? So that the movie can happen.
But the kids are alive? No. Why not? So the movie can happen. All right, well, it seems like this is happening.
I do feel like this game is much more about, the goal is not finishing the objective. It's like the story you write along the way. Like,
what is it? The treasure was the friends we made along the way?
Yeah. Because even you have your main objective, but you can also find destinies along the way. And so you don't have to finish the main objective if you complete your destiny. Yeah, the objective you started with doesn't, like, you could just end the game right there. You won.
So you could do either or both. It's up to you.
If you finish your main objective, you can keep playing and fulfill a destiny. But if you finish your destiny, the game's over, I think is how it went.
I don't remember.
Either way, it's even the main objective you have of the thing you're trying to go for, which, to be fair, you don't necessarily even know how to do that. It was like, oh, well, your objective is do this thing, and I don't want to spoil that for you, but to do that thing, you have to have, 7 of this type of card. And we're like, how do you get that type of card? I don't know. Let's try this to see if we get that card with this thing.
By the way, I'm going to read to you guys the Book of Secrets in its entirety, okay? We said spoilers, so...
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
So again, like we said at our spoiler-free ending a minute ago, I liked it, didn't love it, definitely will play it again, but this is definitely going into Wes's collection for him to play with his kids.
I loved this game. If I had a complaint about it, other than the fact that it's less of a board game and more of it's like a choose-your-own-adventure book. It feels a lot more like that than necessarily just a straight board game. But if you are the person who's in charge of the cards, there is a lot of like administrative work to do.
Go to 232 and gain curse $13.95 for disrupting a birth.
Go to what?
So location card 232.
232. And I gain a curse.
Yep.
What card is that?
$13.95.
It's 1,700 cards. So
if you drop this box and the cards go everywhere,
buy a new copy.
Yeah, basically, it's not going to be worth it. But yeah, the person who has that duty, they're not just like the banker in Monopoly. That is a lot of responsibility on their shoulders.
Yeah, but I absolutely love this game. If you want to check out a copy, there will be a purchase link down in the description box where you can get one.
Also down there's going to be a link for Game Toppers, the sponsors of Neverboard Gaming, but there's also going to be a link that says subscribe. If you subscribe to our channel, then you'll never be bored. Finger guns, finger guns, finger guns, yeah.